Construction sites. They're amazing feats of planning, right? But let's be real, they're also where perfect plans slam right into messy reality. So how do you handle all the unexpected stuff without everything just spiraling into total chaos? Well, that's exactly what we're going to break down today. There's a formal tool designed for this very problem. Let's get into it.
All right, here's the game plan. First, we'll dive into what that on-site chaos really looks like. Then, I'll introduce you to the hero of our story, the site work instruction. We're going to take it apart to see what's inside, follow its journey from start to finish, and even see how it handles some really high-stakes, dangerous situations. And we'll wrap it all up by talking about why these things are, no exaggeration, the backbone of a successful project.
Okay, Section 1, Construction Site Chaos. You know the drill. Every project kicks off with this beautiful, detailed plan. But here's the thing. No plan, no matter how good, can ever predict every single little thing that's going to happen once you start digging. So, what happens when that perfect plan meets the real world? Well, suddenly you hit some weird soil you weren't expecting, or a design piece that looked great on the computer just doesn't quite fit. Maybe a material has to be swapped out last minute. It's these little things, right? But they add up. They cause confusion, delays, and without a proper system, it's just a bunch of verbal instructions getting mixed up, mistakes happening, and nobody knowing who's responsible for what. That is the chaos we're talking about controlling.
Which brings us to Section 2, the site work instruction. This is the professional's answer to that chaos. It's how you go from a casual, "Hey, can you just do this?" to a formal, totally trackable directive that leaves no room for error.
So let's be super clear on what this is. A site work instruction, or an SWI as you'll hear it called, is a formal written order. This isn't a suggestion, it's not a friendly tip, it's a clear-cut directive from the engineer or the project manager straight to the contractor. It tells them exactly how to handle something, whether that's fixing a small mistake, changing a minor part of the plan, or dealing with some crazy challenge that just popped up on site.
Okay, this is a really important distinction to make. Think of it like this. An SWI is for the small stuff. Minor tweaks, clarifications, little course corrections that don't blow up the budget or the schedule. But if you decide, hey, let's add a whole new floor to this building, whoa, that's a change order. That's a whole different beast, a major change to the contract itself. SWIs are all about managing the nitty-gritty adjustments you have to make to keep the project moving smoothly. All right, Section 3, Anatomy of an Instruction. So what's the secret sauce? What makes an SWI actually work? It's all in the details, my friends. It's about the solid documentation that comes with it. Let's pop the hood and see what's inside.
Yeah, an SWI is almost never just one piece of paper. Think of it as a whole package. You might get updated drawings, technical specs for a new material, or a super detailed method statement that spells out exactly how to do something safely. See a mention of hazardous materials? You bet there's a safety data sheet attached. The goal here is simple but powerful. Leave absolutely zero room for guessing. Okay, moving on to Section 4, from issuance to closeout. Just like everything else in pro-level project management, an SWI isn't just fired off into the void. It has a life cycle. It follows a really strict, repeatable process. And this process is what builds that all-important accountability. Let's walk through it.
It's a really logical four-step dance. First, someone with authority, an engineer or PM, issues the instruction. Step 2, the contractor doesn't just jump on it. They review it. They look at how it might affect the cost, the timeline, the safety. They really assess it. Once everyone's on the same page, Step 3, they do the work. And finally, Step 4, and this is so crucial, a consultant comes in to inspect and approve the work. Only then is the instruction officially closed out. See? Watertight.
And listen to this, every single one of these instructions, every piece of paper is kept in a formal log. Often, it's a literal book on site called the Site Instruction Book. Why go to all that trouble? Because that paper trail is your absolute best defense against arguments later on. There's no he said, she said. It's all right there in black and white. What was written, what was signed, what was done. It's an auditor's dream. Okay, Section 5, Handling On-Site Hazards. Now we're going to put the SWI to the test in a really high-stakes situation. Because let's face it, nothing, and I mean nothing, is more important on a construction site than safety, especially when your team digs up something unexpected and dangerous.
The key word here is contaminant. And we're not talking about just a little bit of mud. A contaminant is any substance that poses a genuine risk to human health or the environment.
This is the kind of stuff you absolutely cannot just shovel into a bin and forget about.
And wow, the range of things you might find is huge. We're talking about everything from heavy metals like lead in the soil to asbestos in an old building you're renovating. It could even be something like silica dust in the air from cutting concrete. Each one of these things needs a very specific, very careful plan. This is not the time to guess.
This is where the SWI really shines as a safety tool. It becomes your action plan. An instruction goes out. Investigate and test this material. Boom! Another SWI follows. Contain this area immediately. Then, a super important one, mandating the exact PPE everyone needs to wear. And finally, an instruction spelling out the precise, legal way to get rid of the hazardous waste. It's a step-by-step safety playbook, all formalized in writing.
So, that brings us to our final section, why instructions matter. Let's pull this all together. At the end of the day, why is this formal process so non-negotiable for a project that's run well?
It really boils down to one word: control. SWIs are the tool that gives you control. They make sure safety rules are actually followed. They uphold quality. They give directions that are impossible to misunderstand. And of course, they create that ironclad paper trail that saves you from expensive arguments later. They are literally the tool you use to fix problems the right way the first time.
Really, you can sum it all up with this one thought. Site work instructions are the clear, formal line drawn in the sand between control and chaos on a job site. They take those "oh no" moments and turn them into manageable, documented tasks.
So I'll leave you with this to think about. The next time you're looking at a project, don't just admire the big, shiny blueprint. Think about all those little detours and bumps in the road that you know are coming, and ask yourself, what's the costliest mistake a single missing instruction could cause on your next project?